The moon hung low in the sky, a sickly yellow orb that cast a ghastly pallor over the town of Eldridge Hollow. Its light struggled to penetrate the thick, swirling mist that had crept in from the nearby woods, enveloping the cobblestone streets in a shroud of foreboding. The townsfolk had long whispered of the witches that roamed the forest, their cackles echoing through the night, chilling the bones of even the bravest souls. Yet, amidst the tales of terror, there was one name that resonated with both fear and fascination: Karen. Karen was no ordinary witch. She was a twisted embodiment of malice, her beauty a mere mask for the darkness that lurked beneath. The townspeople spoke of her in hushed tones, warning their children to stay away from the woods or risk falling under her malevolent spell. But tonight, it was not Karen who had drawn the attention of the townsfolk. It was Tanya. With hair the color of spun gold and eyes that sparkled like the brightest stars. She was the jewel of Eldridge Hollow, a beacon of beauty in a world shrouded in darkness. The townsmen would often gaze at her in awe, but it was the women, envious of her grace, who whispered the most venomous of curses. To Karen, seeking power and beauty through dark rites, and they had set their sights on Tanya. Tom, a brash young man with the heart of a classic Disney hero, had always been enchanted by Tanya. He was not the type to shy away from danger, rather he thrived on it. With a mop of unruly hair and a grin that could charm the fiercest of beasts, he was determined to protect her from the malevolent forces that threatened to consume her. He had heard the whispers of Karen and her coven, and though fear gnawed at his insides, he felt a burning desire to confront the darkness head-on. It was a sound that sent chills down his spine, a cacophony of joy twisted into something sinister. He followed the sound, his instincts guiding him towards the heart of the forest, where the trees loomed like ancient sentinels, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal hands. The mist thickened as he stepped into the woods, wrapping around him like a suffocating embrace. Shadows flickered in the corners of his vision, and he could almost hear the whispers of the witches, taunting him, daring him to turn back. But the thought of Tanya, trapped in the clutches of evil, propelled him forward. He could not fail her, not now, not ever. As he ventured deeper, the laughter grew louder, a haunting melody that echoed through the trees. He stumbled upon a clearing, illuminated by the flickering flames of a bonfire. The sight before him was both mesmerizing and horrifying. A circle of women, their faces twisted in grotesque expressions of ecstasy, danced around the fire, their movements fluid and unnatural. They wore tattered garments that fluttered like moths in the wind, and their eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. In the center of the circle stood Tanya, her beauty stark against the darkness that surrounded her. She was bound by shimmering chains that glowed with an ethereal light, a captive in a realm of nightmares. Tom's heart raced at the sight, a surge of anger coursing through him like wildfire. "Let her go!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the cacophony of laughter. The witches turned, their eyes narrowing as they focused on him, the brash hero who dared to intrude upon their revelry. Karen stepped forward, her lips curling into a wicked smile that sent shivers down Tom's spine. "Ah, the gallant knight comes to rescue his damsel," she purred, her voice dripping with mockery. "But you are too late, dear boy. She is already ours." With a flick of her wrist, the chains binding Tanya tightened, causing her to cry out in pain. Tom's fists clenched at his sides, fury boiling within him. He could not allow them to take her. He had to act, and he had to act now. Drawing upon every ounce of courage, he charged forward, his heart pounding in his chest. The witches cackled, their laughter echoing through the clearing like the tolling of a death knell. Tom reached for the chains, his hands trembling as he grasped the glowing links. A surge of energy coursed through him, a sensation akin to grasping lightning, and he felt the chains begin to tremble. "Release her!" he shouted, channeling all his strength into the command. The witches recoiled, their expressions shifting from amusement to rage. Karen's eyes blazed with fury, and she raised her hands, summoning dark energy that crackled in the air like a thunderstorm. "Foolish boy!" she shrieked, her voice a tempest of fury. "You dare challenge me, you will pay for your insolence!" As the dark energy surged towards him, Tom felt an overwhelming sense of dread, but he refused to back down. With a fierce determination, he focused on Tanya, her beauty illuminating the darkness that threatened to engulf him. He could feel their connection, a bond forged in the fires of hope and love, and it fueled his resolve. In that moment, he understood that he was not just fighting for Tanya's freedom, he was fighting against the very essence of evil that sought to snuff out the light in the world. He summoned his inner strength, channeling it into a brilliant burst of light that erupted from his hands, illuminating the clearing like a... The witches shrieked in horror as the light engulfed them, their forms twisting and writhing as they were pushed back by the sheer force of Tom's will. The chains binding Tanya shattered like glass, the shards glinting in the moonlight as they fell away from her. She gasped, her eyes meeting Tom's, a mixture of fear and gratitude reflected in their depths. "Tom!" she cried, her voice a melody that cut through the chaos. "You came for me!" "Always," he replied, his heart swelling with determination. "Now let's get out of here." As the last remnants of darkness dissipated, the witches fell to the ground, their laughter replaced by cries of despair. With a swift motion, Tom took Tanya's hand, their fingers intertwining as they made their escape. The forest, once a labyrinth of shadows, now felt alive with the promise of dawn. Together they ran, their hearts pounding in unison, leaving behind the echoes of despair. But as they emerged from the woods, the first rays of sunlight breaking through the mist, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The witches would not be defeated so easily, and Karen's dark influence would linger in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. He glanced at Tanya, her beauty radiant against the backdrop of a new day, and vowed to protect her, no matter the cost. In Eldridge Hollow, the battle against darkness had only just